Here we are. Okay, Chapter 13, Trump's rigged elections and presidential assassinations. The selection of Donald Trump, the latest U.S. president, is no laughing matter. Instead, it is very biblical. It is a very biblical riddle that does not symbolize anything positive for the people of the United States of America, or the world for that matter. Let us begin in 2010, which is not the start of this story, but a good place to illustrate what is taking place before our eyes. In that year, Donald Trump took part in a commercial for Serta mattresses, which had more to do with future telling than selling sleeping services. And being true to the numerological code that is always in place when the people of this world are mocked. Serta, in ordinal Gematria, sums to 63, corresponding with 2016, which is the 63rd triangular number, syncing with the year Trump won the election. Serta is 63, which corresponds with 2016, which is the 63rd triangular number. Okay. 2016. So, okay. Interesting. That is interesting, right? Serta in ordinal Gematria is 63. 63 is the 2016 is the 63rd triangular number. So 2016, 63, Serta, it corresponds there. Interestingly enough. Coincidentally, that same ad clearly foreshadowed the November 9th, 2016 announcement of him as the winner of the U.S. presidential election by putting the numbers 11 and 9 on the sides of digital sheep, corresponding with the date 11/9, as shown to the left, November 9th. Interestingly, coincidentally, if you have a computer, this commercial is a web search away. I've seen it before, you guys can see it too. Part of the dialogue in the ad is about being born for the job and never counting sheep again, which could mean never counting the votes of the people who still don't know where they live. The Masonic dictatorship, where it matters not who votes, but who counts the votes. For more important details in the same ad, you can see Trump is wearing the exact suit and tie that he wore on selection nights. Let's look that up. Coincidentally, it seems he's telling the truth here. Here's Trump and the Serta ad. There he is in that like kind of dark blue suit with the red tie and the white dress shirt underneath. There he is in the Trump Serta. There's the picture that he's talking about. There's the 9/11. There's the suit with the red tie, the white shirt, and the blue. Dark blue. And on selection night, on election night, Trump, election night, election day, he is wearing the same suit. I just seen it. Maybe he just wears that suit all the time. It's just a coincidence, right? Yeah. Just a coincidence he's wearing the same dang suit. Right, just a coincidence. He happens to be wearing that same suit. That's what shows up the first thing. Okay. Never counting sheep, born for the job. Maybe born. All right. Even worse, the ad concludes with one of the digital sheep looking at the camera and questioning the audience. Where's your dignity? In light of having the groper-in-chief and pathological liar who shows no remorse for his ill-timed actions as the president, actions that come quicker than farts on a cow farm, the punchline isn't hard to understand, so long as you're not an American dreamer asleep at the wheel counting sheep. Please also notice in the image displayed, the sheep that are numbered are standing on two pillars, not unlike the Masonic pillars, Boaz and Jachin from Solomon's Temple, which for a reminder has Gematria of 58, just the same as Freemasonry, and not unlike the election number Trump won, 58, where more than a year before the election began, he announced he was running from the 58-story Trump Tower. 58. So there's the picture he's referring to here, which is the picture we see in 9/11. Two towers there. So there's a story supposedly in the Bible, which I read the whole thing. I don't remember it now, or maybe it's not in the Bible. It's just history. Boaz and Jachin, Masonic pillars from Solomon's temple, which have Gematria 58. Okay? The day after this election, you might recall Lady Gaga was protesting outside the same tower. And not by surprise, Lady Gaga equates to 58 in ordinal Gematria. So here's some pictures here. Lady Gaga loved Trump's hate outside the Trump Tower. The 58-story Trump Tower, huh? Here's the news story on ABC on November 9th, 11/9/2016. The election date, right? After it became clear that Donald Trump would win the presidency, with the sign that read "Love Trump's Hate." It's outside it's outside New York, it said. Propped up on the side of a New York City sanitation truck, the Hillary Clinton supporter and native New Yorker held up a sign that read "Love Trump's Hate." And just to be clear, Google says how many stories in the New York Trump Tower? 58. Coincidence? You decide. Okay, so what does it say there? Lady Gaga was out there protesting, right? And not by surprise, Lady Gaga equates to 58 in ordinal Gematria, which was all part of the puppet show that it is. Let's double check here, guys. Well, Lady Gaga in English ordinal 58 with our handy dandy Gematrinator. Oh, it's just a coincidence, guys. Now you can make the numbers say anything like that, right? A is 1, B is 2, C is 3. All right, pairing well with the November 9th, 2016 announcement of Trump as the president-elect is the Jewish Gematria of Donald, equating to 119, syncing perfectly with the date as follows. Donald equals 119 in Jewish Gematria. They call him the first Jew president. That same November 9th announcement date for Trump as the winner was the 27-year anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall, which collapsed November 9th, 1989, a fitting date for Donald to win, who largely campaigned on building a wall between the United States and Mexico, a tired Republican, right-wing radio talking point, carried on by the likes of Rush Limbaugh and other notable losers dating back to the days of Ronald Reagan. Not by chance, in the reduction method. So I didn't know that it's actually, people have been touting for this wall for a long time. So not by chance, in the reduction method, Berlin Wall equates to 45 in ordinal. The word elect does as well. What a day for the 45th president-elect, who wants more than anything to build a wall, eh? Berlin Wall is 45. And they've been touting this wall for a long time. On the anniversary of the Berlin Wall, Donald Trump, who's been touting for the wall, is elected president, who's the 45th president-elect. Berlin equals 33. Wall is 12. Berlin Wall is 45 in reduction. Mexico is 33 in reduction, interestingly enough. Elect is 45 in ordinal. On the subject of the wall, Donald Trump gave what he called his victory speech, April 26th, 2016. What was his mail-order bride's 46th birthday, Melania. In that speech, he guaranteed two things. One, he would beat Hillary Clinton. And two, he would build that wall. What's interesting about the date, aside from it being on the birthday of the woman who is from the same part of the world where the Berlin Wall fell, really. It says here she was born April 26th, 1970 in Novo Mesto, Slovenia. So honestly, I don't remember much from history about the Berlin Wall, so I'm looking it up. And it separated East Germany from West Germany, it looks like. Is constructed in East Germany. It physically and ideologically divided Berlin It divided Berlin, okay, in East Germany. It divided Berlin from East Berlin from West Berlin. It divided West Berlin from virtually all of surrounding East Germany and East Berlin, until government officials opened it in November 1989. 9/11, or 11/9, right? When they destroyed the wall. Here's a map of Slovenia. Is Slovenia a part of Russia? Russia-Slovenia relations are foreign relations between Russia and Slovenia. Slovenia has an embassy. I'm an idiot. I think Russia and Germany are the same place. I don't know my geography at all. I'm learning now from this guy. So, Slovenia, Berlin. Apparently Slovenia is inside of Berlin, in Germany. Let's look on the map. Well, this map looks like Slovenia is down here, and Berlin's up here. But she's kind of from there. She's from that same general area. There's Berlin there. So she's from that area, Germany. Yeah, she's from the same part of the world where the Berlin Wall fell. So what's interesting about the dates, aside from it being on the birthday of the woman who is from the same part of the world where the Berlin Wall fell, is that it was exactly 197 days before the November 9th announcement of him winning this election. April 26th, 2016, Melania's birthday, when he gave his victory speech. The number 197 is the 45th prime number, syncing perfectly with the Gematria of Berlin Wall, as well as him being number 45. For a bit more on the subject of the wall, so here's the language part. Well, understand this. None of my associates talk about or think about these things, but is that a coincidence that 197 is the 45th prime number, syncing perfectly with the Gematria? Oh, dang it, spiders out here. Walking through sticky spider webs. There's like homeless people shouting out here. 3 a.m. and maybe not the best time to walk out here. Oh gosh. Is that a coincidence? I mean, come on. I mean, is that just a coincidence? It's like, I understand none of my associates think about numbers in this fashion, but maybe some people do. Maybe they plan these things and they think about these things in depth. Is that a possibility? For a bit more on the subject of the wall, let us compare how the word meshes with the gematria of Donald Trump, the city of Cleveland, where he had his convention, and a few other noteworthy items. Wall is 48 in ordinal, Donald Trump is 48 in reduction, Humpty Dumpty is 48 in septenary, Cleveland is 48 in reverse reduction, and Freemason is 48 in reverse reduction. What a coincidence! Shortly after the election, on February 17th, the 48th day of the Gregorian year, Hollywood would release the film The Great Wall. Remember, the same Zionist Jews that run Hollywood run your media, your governments, and the rest of the world of entertainment, which is the vessel used to pacify the sleeping masses. This gang is commonly called the Illuminati. Hollywood equals 48 in reduction. Illuminati is 48 in reduction. The same as Freemason, Cleveland, Humpty Dumpty, Wall, and Donald Trump. Speaking of entertainment, LeBron James, the star player of the Cleveland Cavaliers, who won his NBA championship in the summer of 2016, just days before Trump had his convention in the same basketball arena, ended up with a hit TV show called The Wall at the same moment in history. See, I didn't know that. Here it is now. LeBron James takes a shot. He generally doesn't miss. That's the case this time anyway for the NBA's Superstars The Wall, which earns 20 more episodes from NBC. The network announced on Wednesday. There it is. He's got this LeBron James The Wall. He's got a TV show. It's a game show, huh? No. Yeah, it is. Never heard of it before. Lots of mosquitoes out here tonight. All right. The same moment in history. The Berlin Wall falls. Trump is elected same day. You know, on the same date. Not the same year, but on November 9th. 27 years. It's 27th anniversary. LeBron James wins with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Trump gives a speech in the same arena. A few days later, and then LeBron James ends up with a thing about the wall being 45. The mocking was thick, but the sleeping masses didn't seem to absorb any of it. I didn't. As you think about these things, please acknowledge there is a reason in the Talmud it says that Goyim are stupid and a lesser race and meant to be ruled over, as they are. I have been. My parents have been. My grandparents have been. Everyone I know has been. I'm not saying it is right, but I am only being honest about the situation. While I call out the wrongdoing, it is only right to acknowledge that those who are responsible are coming from a place that is sadly somewhat true. Right, it is. As the Surda ad said, where's your dignity? Let us now decode the name James, as in LeBron James. James is 48 in ordinal. Going back to the days after the selection of Trump, there was some major coincidence programming going on in the world of Zionist media and entertainment. On Thursday, November 9th, 2016, Donald Trump and LeBron James ended up in the White House together to meet Barack Obama. And on the same day, for Thursday Night Football in the NFL, the Cleveland Browns were visiting the nearby Baltimore Ravens, who before moving to Baltimore were the old Cleveland Browns team. I didn't know that. What are the odds? November 10th, 2016, Donald Trump and LeBron James go to the White House to meet Barack Obama. The same night, Thursday Night Football, the Cleveland Browns are visiting the Baltimore Ravens, who used to be the Cleveland Browns team. And on the subject of the Browns, have you ever thought about how silly it is that they haven't won anything since they had Jim Brown on their team? Back on point, Trump was being congratulated for winning the rigged selection, as Barry Obama had once did. And the Cavs were being congratulated for winning the rigged NBA championship, which again was won on the real King James birthday, June 19th, 2016. The King James who wrote the King James Bible, June 19th, 1566, is the King James the 6th and the 1st, huh? Can read more into that. That's his birthday, June 19th, 1566. And in June 19th, 2016, LeBron James from the Cleveland Cavaliers wins the NBA championship. Coincidence? Just a coincidence, brah. You're looking too much into this. If you weren't following me then, I won a lot of people a lot of money because I said double down while the Cavs were down 3-1 in the NBA Finals. It was a lock. They were coming back and winning on King James Day, which is exactly what they did. I also did the same thing for people in the 112th World Series, where I said double down on the Cubs. I live in Chicago. When they were down 3-1, because like I told people in spring training, the Cubs were a lock to break the 108-year curse. And they did. Major League equals 108 in ordinal. I was telling some of my passengers the other day. Yeah, I mean, do you ever think about how the Sears Tower, now called the Willis Tower, no one in Chicago calls it that. is 108 floors. You ever think about that? And there's 108 double stitches on a baseball. How many stitches on a baseball? 108? You ever think about that? Is that a coincidence? That 108-year curse, the curse of the billy goat, how long the Cubs? The owner of the Billy Goat Tavern. I've seen that before. Cubs win first World Series in 108 years. And he like shook it off. He got mad almost. It's like I was exposing him or something. That was weird. He got so pissed off. Well, maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was just tired. He was like, all right, yeah, have a good night. So I didn't know about this Billy Goat curse, actually, but it's kind of funny. But they didn't win either before this guy came, and anyway. But people were getting pissed off about this guy, and also Bartman, who caught the ball. That's a hilarious story, too. Like, that people think the Cubs are going to win, and this dude, instead of letting the Cubs outfielder catch the ball to produce an out, the dude in the stands caught it. And they're like pitchforking, like the Cubs fans wanted to kill this guy. So here's this other story, the Billy Goat curse. This dude, who's the owner of the Billy Goat Bar, would go to the Cubs games, and he would bring his super stinky goat. People would get pissed off at him, and then during Game 4 of the 1945 World Series, because of the odor of his pet goat named Murphy was bothering other fans, Cianis was asked to leave Wrigley Field, the Cubs' home ballpark. An outraged Cianis allegedly declared, "Them Cubs ain't gonna win no more." That was dang funny. Anyway, back on topic here. 108-year curse. Major League was 108 in ordinal. If Google hadn't taken down my YouTube channel, you could see the thousands of comments about the massive payouts people received from my advice in both cases, because the odds were 40-1 on the comebacks and better. I make this point to remind you that knowledge pays. Also, in the same breath, as another reminder, it isn't hard to see who is running the show when you look at the faces of the NBA, such as David Stern and Adam Silver. Speaking of Adam Silver, are we not being told about life on Jupiter? If you think my remark is off-putting, visit my blog post from July 4th, 2016, where supposedly NASA's Juno probe arrived at Jupiter, and Google's G-men made their doodle spell Goy, as in Goyim. It should make you sick. There it is. Goigle. Wow! Yeah, clap. Fucking have some praise over there. Yeah, it's a party. Goigle. Goy is 47 in ordinal. This way from July 4th, 2016, or 4-7. And 4 plus 7 plus 20 plus 16 is 47. 7 is 47, July 4th, or 4-7. 4th of July, spelled Jewlie. July is 74 in reduction, which is the reflection of 47. And I realized this from one of Zach's videos lately, or maybe it was in the past. He talks about how the numbers, they can be the same, the reflections, because in Hebrew, you read right to left. And in English, you read left to right. So you would read it 74, because that's how the numbers are. That's how you would read it 74. And it would actually be an alphanumeric. It would look like a freaking normal letter, like the letter A, but it would actually correspond to a number. If you understand Hebrew or Greek as well. And I think Phoenician is what Zach said in the first chapter. So another important point is that from the Cavs' June 19th championship to the November 10th White House meeting was 144 days later, our number representing time, as we learned about. You'll also recall that when you write out 44 as a word, in ordinal gematria, it equates to 144. This is fascinating because even though Donald Trump is the 45th president in terms of count, he is really only the 44th person to be president, which syncs with the fact that Donald Trump equates to 144 in the KFW Kabbalah cipher. The reason the count is off is because Grover Cleveland had a split term, the only president to do so, occupying the 22nd presidency and the 24th presidency, and forever throwing the count off by one. Thus, the 25th president was really only the 24th person to be president, all the way up to the Trump. The chump. And regarding the Cavs winning on King James's birthday, recall that King James in Gematria sums to 35, and he became a Freemason just before turning 35 years old. So check it out, Grover Cleveland president, the 22nd U.S. president. Stephen Grover Cleveland was an American politician and lawyer who was the 22nd and 24th president of the United States. The only president in American history to serve 2 non-consecutive terms in office. See, I'm learning a lot from Zach. So what I think is funny too is he was a lawyer. There's a song by Tool called The Pot, and a verse in the song goes like, liar, lawyer, mirror, show me. What's the difference? A liar, lawyer, mirror, show me. What's the difference? It's so good. We're not being lied to. No, we're not goy. This is all a coincidence. It's all a joke. And then I was gonna look up King James. So there appears to be controversy on Google regarding if King James even was a Freemason, let alone the dates he became one. The first thing that shows up is he became one at 35 years old, the date that corresponds to his name in Gematria. But Zach is saying he became one at 34, a few days before he turned 35. I don't know where Zach's getting his knowledge from. What's a credible source? Good questions to ask. For the same Thursday night football game from November 10th, the Ravens beat the Browns 28-7, a sum of 35 points. Just another tribute to Masonry. As you'll learn in the sports rigging chapter, professional sports are scripted from the final score to the box score, no exceptions. For the sake of ongoing narratives that are an interconnected web, oftentimes intermingling with what's in the news. And on a related note, please look up the April 16th, 2016 presentation by author and comedian Garrison Kyler titled The Raven, Trump. I did look that up. It's just like a poem that he made. He gave his presentation about Trump as the Raven at something called a Prairie Home Companion, having gematria of 119, not unlike Trump. And not unlike the date Trump was announced as the winner of the selection, November 9th, 119. So how fitting it was that on Trump's first day in the White House, the Baltimore Ravens were hosting. Even better, on Trump's 40th week as president, the Ravens won 40-0 over Miami, October 25th, 2017 on TNF, Thursday Night Football, where TNF has ordinal gematria of 40, like US and United States and Old Testament. As for Miami, in ordinal it equates to 45, the 45th president-elect, and a Prairie Home Companion is 119 in reduction. Here it is. If you just look up the Raven Trump, you'll find this dude's speech. I don't want YouTube to be like copyright strike or something like that, because I'm putting a lot of time into this video right now. Watch that if you're into poetry. I don't know. It didn't do it for me. I didn't understand what was going on. It was just mocking Trump. Said the Donald J. Trump. He's a chump. And stuff like that. So he gave his presentation about Trump as the Raven at the Prairie Home Companion, blah, 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 on the subject of Trump truly being the 44th person to be president. It should be noted there were 44 kings of ancient Israel before the demise. 44 kings of ancient Israel before the demise. Here's a picture from Wikipedia, the genealogy of the kings of ancient Israel and Judah. We got Saul 1, David 2, Saul 1, Ishbosheth 2, David 3, Solomon 4, Adonijah 5, Absalom 6, Rehoboam 7, Abijah 8, Asa 9, Jehoshaphat 10, Jehoram 11, Athaiah 12, Jehoram 13, Ahaziah 14, Jezebel 15, Ahab 16, Omri 17, Zimri 18, Ella 19, Baasha 20, Nadab 21, Jeroboam 22, Jehu 23, Jehoazah 24, Jehoash 25, Jeroboam the second 26, Zechariah 27, Shalem 28, Menahem 29, Pekahiah 30, Ahaziah 31, Jehoash 32, Amaziah 33, Uzzah 34, Jotham 35, Ahaz 36, Hezekiah 37, Manasseh 38, Amon 39, Josiah 40, Jehoiakim 41, Jehanaz 42, Zedekiah 43, Jehoiachim 44. Coincidence? The 44th. 44 kings of ancient Israel before the demise. So here's this article he's showing here. International Israeli police push for Prime Minister Netanyahu's indictments on corruption charges on February 13th, 2018 at 4:13 p.m. Eastern Time. Okay, in 2017, as the newly elected President Donald Trump traveled to Israel for the dates of May 22nd and May 23rd, shortly after declaring May as Jewish Heritage Month. On his second day there, May 23rd, it was the beginning of the celebration of Jerusalem Day. And for May 23rd, or 23/5, our date connected to the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, as we learned about, and the degrees on the legs of the compasses of the Masonic logo. If you look at the logo, the compass is at 47 degrees. 47 degrees. Half, each one going out, 23.5. Or 235, 23.5. So I'm looking here, guys, at all the ciphers on Gematrinator, and I don't see how Scottish Rite of Freemasonry connects to 23.5. I see 325, but it's not 235. And it's not even the reflection of it. I mean, maybe if you shuffle the numbers around, that's the closest that I see to 235. Maybe one of these is, I don't know. He mentioned it probably in a previous chapter, but I forgot it. Anyway, so Trump traveled to Israel's Western Wall, a fitting location for Mr. Wall to attend. Let us now examine the gematria of Israel, Zion, Netanyahu, Western Wall, and Jerusalem Day, which all equate to 44. It's not by chance. Just like how it was no accident, Netanyahu was nearly indicted by Israeli police on February 13th, 2018, the 44th day of the year, known as Lupercalia, summing to 44 in reduction gematria. Of course, that indictment threat was part of the numerical show. Israeli Prime Minister PM Benjamin Netanyahu's 44-second UN silence. This is a news quote he took on October 2nd, 2015. During his speech to the United Nations General Assembly, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu found a novel way to protest against what he calls an absence of criticism of Iranian threats against Israel. Midway through his speech, he paused for 44 seconds in response to what he describes as the international community's silence. Yeah, Israeli is 44 in reverse reduction. Zion is 44 in reverse ordinal. Netanyahu is 44 in reverse reduction. Western Wall is 44 in reduction. Jerusalem Day is 44 in reduction. In Hebrew, the name Benjamin Netanyahu, which is spelled like that, also equates to 44. Pairing nicely with the October 2nd, 2015 headline from the United Nations, where the same Prime Minister of Israel made international news for taking a 44-second pause of silence while speaking on the UN floor, the same body that recognized the Zionist state, the home of the synagogue of Satan. The reporting shown is from the BBC, or the 223. As for the date of the headline, October 2nd, 2015, it was a date with numerology of 47, matching the year the United Nations recognized Israel as an independent nation. So I'm not sure Zach's right on this. It seems Google's saying May 14th, 1948. The Arab-Palestinian economy collapsed and 250,000 Palestinian Arabs fled or were expelled on May 14th, 1948, the day before the expiration of blah, 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 blah. The head of the Jewish agency declared the establishment of a Jewish state in Eretz Israel to be known as the State of Israel. So it may not be 47, Zach. I'm not sure where you got your info from. The first thing that shows up on Google here is May 14th, 1948. Even Wikipedia shows this. The international recognition of Israel refers to the diplomatic recognition of the State of Israel, which was established by the Israeli Declaration of Independence on 14 May 1948. Israeli status is disputed due to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Out of the 192 other UN member states, 161 currently recognize Israel. Some states recognize Israel as a state but have no diplomatic relations. It's okay. Like I said, guys, Zach may not be 100% correct on everything here, but if you learn 90% is truth, or even freaking 10%, if you learn 10% true, but you're able to filter out what's not true, you just gain 10% more truth you didn't have than before. And I'm telling you right now, 95% of what he's saying here, I haven't found information that conflicts it. Even the first things that show up on Goigle. For us, Goy. So, but here he goes on. Let us not forget that in Hebrew, Judaism sums to 47, and so does Elohim, which also matches the degrees on the compasses of the Freemason logo. Right, 47, 23 and a half would be half. The Hebrew Gematria for Judaism and Elohim are as follows, along with the date numerology. 47 in Hebrew ordinal is Judaism in Hebrew letters. In Hebrew ordinal, Elohim is 47, Elohim. That's how you spell Elohim in Hebrew, like that. And 10/2/2015, 10 plus 2 plus 20 plus 15 is 47. In light of the October 2nd date, where Netanyahu performed this numerological stunt, I'll remind you now, Gematria is ritual magic and can be used for evil. When we get to September 11th, you will learn that 102, not unlike the date 10/2 or October 2nd, was a big number in the event, a number symbolizing magic, United States of America, and even the not-so-friendly phrase, fuck you, which is what the message always is from the Talmud thumpers to the gullible goyim. Keep in mind, at the same time this headline was made about Netanyahu's 44-second pause, he was beefing with number 44, Obama, which was no different than when a child gets behind some cardboard and with two socks over their opposing hands makes a sock puppet fight. Magic equals 102 in reverse ordinal. Fuck you equals 102 in ordinal. United States of America equals 102 in reduction, a single reduction, where S is 10. Okay, not even 100. It's not even 102 in single reduction. I'm with Derek on this Gematrinator Calculator of you can only do a single reduction. You can't just pick and choose which letters you're gonna, you can't just choose S can be, this number, but T is gonna be this number. Right, it's like you can't have T be 20, but S is gonna be 10, or T is gonna be 2, but S is gonna be 10. But because if you're doing reduction, I guess you can let it be 10 if you're doing them one time. But then you can't have R. I guess you can with this. I don't know why Derek doesn't have an S exception. I'm an idiot. Okay, I put states twice. It is 102 in a single reduction. United States of America. Fuck you, 102 in ordinal. Magic, 102 in reverse ordinal. Similar to October 2nd. Woo! We're coming up to pretty soon. It's September 25th right now. In the chapter on Wars by the Numbers, we'll learn the real reason the U.S. Civil War began on the 102nd day of the year, April 12th, 1861. And what the number has to do with slavery, their derogatory term nigger, and more, including World War. Again, Netanyahu was beefing with the first black president, which is what this news story had much to do with. For now, keep in mind, in the Talmud, the goyim, who are the non-Jews, are seen as a slave race, because that is all we are deserving of from their perspective. They will be proven wrong yet, truth seeker. They most certainly will. On a related note, Netanyahu's 44-second pause was part of a speech that had much to do with military strategy. Before we get to decoding the great number of 44s in connection to the military, let me remind you that on September 18th, 2017, the United States of America opened its first permanent military base in Israel, which only makes sense seeing as how it is the nation that has its military paid for by the US taxpayers, who are largely considered goyim. You might not have heard about this story because it wasn't reported on until a week after the fact, and the sources that covered it were few and far between. Instead, the bigger outlets were too occupied with the president's latest tweets about his cabinet members and other important matters. This September 18th date was also interesting in more ways than one, but we will begin with the date numerology of 44. September 18th, 17. So 9 plus 18 plus 17 equals 44. Like Netanyahu's 44-second pause. Like Judaism in Hebrew and Elohim in Hebrew. Oh, no, not those two, sorry. That's 47. Like Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, his name in Hebrew reduction is 44. Like Israel in reverse reduction is 44. Zion is 44 in reverse ordinal. Netanyahu is 44 in reverse ordinal. Western Wall is 44 in reduction. And Jerusalem Day is 44 in reduction. Like Trump is the 44th person to be president. And here it is at timesofisrael.com. These dudes, Air Defense School and the U.S. 10th Army Air and Missile Defense Command, cut the ribbon to open the first American military base in Israel, inside the Mashabim Air Base on September 18th, 2017. by Israel Defense Forces. And September 18th, 2017 has numerology of 44. As we have learned, the number 44 is connected to Israel, as well as killing, which is only appropriate because since their inception, they have been a nation of killers and Geneva Convention violators, having more violations than any other nation, with the United States of America coming in a distant second place. So maybe Zach made a mistake here, because I'm looking again at all the ciphers. Killing, I don't see 44 anywhere. And honestly, I don't know anything about the Geneva Conventions. So here's Wikipedia to save the day. Not to be confused with Geneva Protocol or Convention relating to the status of refugees. Similar topics, Geneva Protocol disambiguations. The Geneva Convention, the signature and seals page of the 1864 Geneva Convention that established humane rules of war. Convention, there it is. The original document as PDF in single pages from 1864. The Geneva Conventions comprise 4 treaties and 3 additional protocols that establish the standards of international law for humanitarian treatment in war. The singular term Geneva Convention usually denotes the agreements of 1949, negotiated in the aftermath of the Second World War, which was from 1939 to 1945, which updated the terms of the 2 1929 treaties and added 2 new conventions. The Geneva Conventions extensively defined the basic rights of wartime prisoners, civilians, and military personnel, established protections for the wounded and sick, and established protections for the civilians in and around a war zone. The treaties of 1949 were ratified in whole or with reservations by 196 countries. Moreover, the Geneva Convention also defines the rights and protections afforded to non-combatants. Yet, because the Geneva Conventions are about people in war, the articles do not address warfare proper, the use of weapons of war, which is the subject of the Hague Conventions. First Hague Conference was in 1899, the second was in 1907, and the Biochemical Warfare Geneva Protocol for the prohibition of the use in war of asphyxiating, poisonous, or other gases, and of bacteriological methods of warfare in 1925. So here's some grave breaches. Not all violations of the treaty are treated equally. The most serious crimes are termed grave breaches and provide a legal definition of a war crime. Grave breaches of the Third and Fourth Geneva Conventions include the following acts, if committed against a person protected by the Convention: willful killing, torture, or inhumane treatment, including biological experiments; willfully causing great suffering or serious injury to body or health; compelling a protected person to serve in the armed forces of a hostile power; willfully depriving a protected person of the right to a fair trial if accused of a war crime. Also considered grave breaches of the Fourth Geneva Convention are the following: taking of hostages, extensive destruction and appropriation of property not justified by military necessity and carried out unlawfully and wantonly; unlawful deportation, transfer, or confinements. So on Google in America, when I search for Geneva Convention violators, nothing really shows up. It just talks about what it is. Except you do get this one site that shows up down here. So Russia's action in Ukraine clearly violate the rules of war. U.S. troops violated Geneva Convention. U.S. violates Geneva Conventions. Nothing about Israel. That might be anti-Semitic. Don't want to say nothing like that. Like Zach is saying here. Of course, at the end of the day, both nations are Jewish-owned and operated. And the New World Order is a false Jew world order. But let us not forget, it isn't all Jews who are to blame, only some. And at the same time, let us understand that the Jews at the top have minions of all races and religious beliefs that serve them in the name of the almighty dollar. Don't doubt that at all. Those points on the table, we will now decode the relevant military terms connecting to number 44. Military, okay, so kill is 44 in ordinal, not killing, okay, just kill. Military is 44 in reduction. Soldier is 44 in reverse reduction. Infantry is 44 in reduction. Trooper is 44 in reduction. Officer is 44 in reduction. Sergeant is 44 in reduction, where S is 10, or a single reduction. Yep, sergeant, 44, and single reduction. I prefer that term, single reduction. It makes more, just easier, it's a better category than defining which letters you're going to choose, what number it's going to be. Genocide is 44 in reduction. Coincidence? When Trump began making appointments to his staff, two of the earliest were 44-year-old Reince Priebus, born March 18th, the 77th day of the year, for Chief of Staff, and 44-year veteran of the Marines, Mad Dog Mattis. Of course, both the nickname Mad Dog and Mattis have Gematria of 44. Worse yet, his birthday is September 8th, leaving 114 days left in the year, the number that symbolizes things such as World War, Pearl Harbor, Holocaust, history, and more. We'll get to it in the chapter on the subject of the world wars by the numbers ahead. At the same time, President of the United States and Trump have Gematria of 114 as well, a number that reminds of 11 times 4, which is 44. Mad Dog's 44 in ordinal, Mattis is 44 in reverse reduction. In the case of Mad Dog, he became the Secretary of Defense, having ordinal Gematria of 193, which is the 44th prime number. You see how well thought out it all is? Mad Dog served his 44 years, and then he got to sit in the big boy chair. If you missed his swearing-in ceremony, John McCain took part, and he asked Mad Dog, "Are you aware of the trying times it is for the New World Order? Look it up." Secretary of Defense is 193 in ordinal. Yeah, about to be trying times for the Jew World Order. That's already happened. It's not new at all. Secretary of Defense, 193 in English ordinal, and 193 is the 44th prime number. Moving on to the next interesting number. The date of the military base opening also had a numerology of 64, the arguably most relevant number to Israel. So this is probably better, this 64 number, since 47 didn't work so well. And the number of spaces on the chessboard, which they treat the world as such, interestingly. So 64 is the most relevant number to Israel, really. And the number of spaces on the chessboard. How many squares are there in a chessboard? 64, 1 times 1 squares on a chessboard. But there are a total of 204 squares on the chessboard. If you get crazy with it, 204. If you get crazy with it. Really, all you gotta do is go what? Is go... Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 by 8 probably, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which is 64. These guys going 204, like, oh, there's this square here, that's 165. Oh, look at these squares here. They're getting too crazy with it. 64 spaces in a chessboard, just like Zach said. Which they treat the world as such, a chessboard. making moves by the numbers on the daily. If you're familiar with chess, each space is assigned a letter and number. Think about it. As we decode, keep in mind, Jewish equates to 88 in reverse ordinal. 88 is a very important number, which you should read in his chapter. I think it's the first chapter he talks about, or maybe the second one, the importance of each number and what 88 connects to. Think about infinity, how the infinity sign is an 8 sideways. And Trump equates to 88 in ordinal, where the product of 8 times 8 is 64. Israel is 64 in ordinal. Zion is 64 in ordinal. See, now these will connect way more to that date. Synagogue of Satan is 64 in reduction. And 9 plus 18 plus 20 plus 17 equals 64. So I got to go back and break this down. On October 2nd, Netanyahu does his 44-second pause. And 10 plus 2 plus 20 plus 15 is 47. And that's where Zach was saying that the United Nations is the year that it was recognized as an independent nation is in 1947, which I think is incorrect. I think Goigel is saying 48. But then we get into this one over here when the United States opens a military base in Israel on September 18th, 2017. And 9 plus 18 plus 17 is 44. And we learned all about them 44 military, kill, soldier, infantry, trooper, officer, sergeant, and genocide. All 44. And then he gets Mad Dog Mattis on his 44th after being 44 years in the Marines. Mad Dog's 44. Mattis is 44. And Secretary of Defense is 193, which is the 44th prime number. Clean my screen. And 9 plus 18 plus 20 plus 17 is 64. So the word, just like Synagogue of Satan, Israel, and Zion. So the word Thelema also shares this ordinal gematria of 64, and is an occult religion founded by Aleister Crowley, worshipping the number 93, where its members meet and greet simply by saying 93. Israel is a nation that has been centered on this same number, symbolizing Saturn, the keeper of time. He mentions this in an early chapter, since the beginning. Please keep in mind that Saturn also symbolizes Satan, and Israel is the nation for the synagogue of Satan. In history, its borders were drawn September 3rd, 1947, the day also leaving 119 days left in the year. So maybe that's what he's talking about. The borders were drawn, but then it wasn't recognized until 1948. 119 days left in the year. So let us not forget how Star of David and Orthodox equates to 119, as well as Foundation and Master Plan, all in ordinal gematria as well. For a recent example of the significance of the number 93 to the nation, in 2016, world leaders gathered in Israel, September 29th, 2016, 929 chapters in Old Testament. So on September 29th, and there's 929 chapters in the Old Testament, the day leaving 93 days left in the year. 93 like Thelema, where they greet each other saying 93. The next day, they attended the funeral of Shimon Peres, who passed at age 93, September 28th. The funeral was held September 30th, which can be expressed as 930, not too far off from 93 either. Notice how both the names Shimon and Peres correspond with the date of the gathering, the date of the funeral, and of course, his age of passing. Shimon Peres being the former president of Israel, dying September 28th, 2016. Getting eaten alive out here. Mosquitoes like crazy. All right. Perez is 93 in ALW, Kabbalah, and Shaman is 39 in a reverse reduction where H is 10, or a single reduction. Yeah, a 39 in a reverse single reduction. 39 being the reflection of 93. So I think I'm going to cut it off here, guys. This chapter is pretty long. I still have all of this. I've got a lot more to go. We're already at an hour. Yeah, I'm going to call it. I'm going to call it for this video. But we'll get back into it. We'll get back into this, guys. This is some deep stuff. It requires a lot of thought, a lot of research, a lot of history behind all this, a lot of new things I got to learn. Maybe you guys are smarter than me. That's why you should read the book, and you'll probably get through it a lot faster than me. Peace, truth seeker. Let's be truth speakers.